Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. Welcome to Ascending with Venus Castleberg, a space where we explore the journey of spiritual awakening, expanding your consciousness and raising your frequency to create a whole new world. We'll dive into the possibilities that open up when you choose to follow the whispers and trust your inner knowing. Each episode is designed to guide you in expanding your awareness, tuning into your intuition, and discovering the magic of your life every day. We'll talk about living aligned with your soul's purpose, going beyond limitations, and creating a life and a world worth celebrating. You are here to embrace who you truly are and step into the infinite potential that's waiting for you. Let's ascend together. And now, here is your host, Venus Castleberg.
Hello, beautiful people. How are you? If you're out there talking to me today, awesome. Just say hello in the chat. You can also call in and talk to me, ask me questions, ask for coaching, facilitation. What else is possible? 202-570-7057. And if at any point in the show, especially today, I think if you'd like to talk out places where you think you might be feeling a little crazy, we can definitely talk about that. Thank you, Autumn. You too. So how do you know you're not crazy? Well, I don't know. How do you know? I know for me, it was just years and years, becoming spiritually gifted pretty much overnight when I turned 30, clairvoyant medium, suddenly started seeing dead people, like great. And at first I did feel like I was crazy. I had no idea what was happening. It was new. I'd never had experiences like this before. And I think over time, it just became more about was I talking to somebody and then they confirmed it. So it was just confirmation after confirmation that finally made me go, okay, maybe I'm not crazy. Because people are acting or saying that they know exactly who I'm talking about, so there's lots of little confirmations. But I know for some people out there, and it might be you watching this now and in the future, that you're having some sort of spontaneous spiritual awakening. You're suddenly, maybe you're seeing dead people, maybe you're feeling them, there's lots of different spiritual gifts out there. You can become majorly psychic, and dragons, unicorns, there's all sorts of experiences that people have, and they're the majority of people are not having those sorts of experiences. So when the majority of those people are not having those sorts of experiences, then we find ourselves comparing ourselves to them and then thinking that we must be crazy. And I can chuckle about it now, but there was a time in my life when I first became a clairvoyant medium, I didn't want to be crazy. I didn't want to be different. And I know some of you have heard my story before, but there's just always this kind of resistance in the beginning to what was happening. But I think the resistance came more from a fear of the unknown for me. And that when I was afraid of something or I didn't understand it, I thought I was afraid of it, right? So I am planning, and I want you guys to know this up front, this month I actually have a couple of special guests. I'm hoping to have a bunch of special guests, but special guests, I definitely have 2 signed up already. Hi, Lori, welcome. To come on the show and kind of share their stories about where they discovered they weren't crazy. One of them is John Wilkie, and he is actually the guy that taught me about aliens and showed me spaceships in the middle of the day. And so he has a lot of extraterrestrial experience and things to share, which is cool. And yeah, actually, fear and excitement have the same energy, Lori. That's great to point that out. So it's the same energy, and then we're like, oh, am I really excited? However, I'll tell you guys a story in a minute that actually at the time was really fear for me. But yeah, I wasn't really excited to see the darkness in the beginning. So, but then I discovered there was nothing to fear. And then I also have Anthony Mattis lined up to come on this month. We have to just narrow down the dates. And Anthony Mattis is a Talk to the Entities facilitator with Access Consciousness. And the theme for the whole month is going to be like, how do you know you're not crazy? But I wanted to get some special guests on here to have different conversations with people on how they came to terms with their now gifts, capacities, awarenesses that they have that the general public don't really have, right? Like, how do we be okay with what we can perceive if nobody else can perceive it? Hi, Kimberly, welcome. So I'm excited about that. Stay tuned. We'll definitely post who's coming on when as soon as we have that narrowed down. And but I just love to have you guys come on and kind of support them, and feel free to call in and ask them questions too. So you can ask them about that, but you can also call me today if you have any questions about this or anything you want to talk about. It's absolutely bonkers. Cool. So when I first, a little bit of history, when I was, hi Samantha, welcome. When I was 30, I stopped doing drugs, and I wasn't drinking a lot, but I pretty much quit doing drugs and alcohol and partying like a rock star. And then I was helping a friend, and he's going to be one of my guests, that actually was homeless at the time. He was living in his car. He had an accident at work, and work wasn't covering it. He was in a lot of pain, and then the work actually fired him. And so he was like in this really, and his girlfriend broke up with him and kicked him out. And so he was just in this kind of really low point in his life. And when I met him, I had this like intuitive pull to offer him the spare bedroom in my house that was empty at the time. And just to see if I could help him kind of get on his feet, let him have a place to sleep at night, and then he could go get a job and, start to get on his feet. Well, this guy just happened to be somebody who had studied extraterrestrials and used to catch on VHS tape. For those of you who are more my age might know what that is, but people younger may not even know what that is. It was the old way that we used to film on cameras. Wasn't digital back then. It was like literally a big VHS tape with reels and everything. And he would catch documentation of spaceships back then on VHS, which was, unheard of. Nowadays, there's a little bit more out there about it. And now they're even saying I've heard the government say something to the effect that there are extraterrestrials out there now. So they're now at least acknowledging it's true. And but what's interesting is at that time he was staying with me. He would have these like spontaneous, we'd be like eating dinner or something, and he'd have these spontaneous like channeling sessions. And he'd just like suddenly start channeling like little angels, or he'd channel Jesus, and had lots of messages for me at that time, which I was just soaking up, because I had changed everything in my life. I was feeling a little bit alone. I was kind of like you, Lori. I was thinking, oh, this could be exciting, let's check things out. But little did I know that as I started to explore this area, that's when the fear and kind of even maybe a little bit of disappointment came up. So the first thing that happened is he was channeling, kind of giving me messages, just encouraging me that, I was, and telling me things about my life, not from a predictory sort of, but just kind of like, we're here for you. We love you. We have your back. You're not alone. Even though I'd lost all my friends, I wasn't really alone. And then I don't know how it came up, but there was kind of like this conversation. Maybe it was during one of the channeling sessions where I was like, well, I'd like to see the spirit realm. Careful what you wish for. Number one, careful what you wish for. So he came up with, and again, I don't remember if it was so long ago, but I don't remember if this was during a channeling session or just something he knew, but he's like, so just focus on a point on the wall or something like that and let your eyes go blurry. And so this is how I started to develop seeing spirits with my physical eyes. And I started to see some really cool things. Like one time I saw a woman's dress, white dress, walking up the bottom, just the bottom part of the dress, walking up the stairs. I saw random things just playing with this. And, the tingling up the back of your neck a little bit, where you're like, oh yeah, that's, I don't know if I'm ready to see that, but I was still playing. And I was like, okay, I'm still just going to play. Right. And then fast forward, we've spent a couple months together. He's living in my spare bedroom. This dialogue's going on back and forth. And then one day he's takes me outside and he's points to some clouds, a bunch of little clouds. And in between these clouds was this little space in the sky and 3 spaceships called rods, because they literally look like rods when they're flying, crossed in that space, all 3 at the same time. And then I remember looking at him and being like, oh my God, did you see that? And he's like, oh my God, did you see that? So again, that sort of confirmation I was talking about in the beginning, it's how do you know you're not crazy? Well, you might have somebody there that can, verify that that's what happened. And then we are, I don't know, one day we decided to go have lunch at this rose garden next to this beautiful chapel, which was in a graveyard. And we were outside having lunch, and I hear a woman outside my ear crying. And I'm totally freaked me out. It's I don't want to start hearing voices outside my head. So I pretty much turned that one off right away. Again, I had no idea what was going on. I walked around the building and saw that there was a funeral going on. And I didn't know that there was a funeral going on. So there's a couple things that I learned in that moment. One, all spirits aren't necessarily happy. So that was definitely an eye-opener for me, because I thought that once you left the body, you were just in bliss and la la land. That's not the case. Some spirits get stuck here, and some spirits are sad for the people they left behind. And I also was a confirmation, oh, there's a woman being buried right there, and that was the one that I just heard, right? So little things like that are how I've come over the years to be okay, I'm not crazy. Even though if you tell the normal people in the world, which I recommend don't talk to people about what you are aware of if they can't receive it, because they're just going to look at you like you're crazy or make you feel like you're crazy, and then you'll doubt yourself again. Only share your gifts and your capacities with people who can hear it, with people who can receive it. And yeah, right now, maybe that's few and far between, but that's going to be more encouraging for you than it will if you're just I need my whole family to know that now I see dead people. I don't recommend that. And as a matter of fact, my personal awakening, when I did start seeing dead people, I didn't tell my mom for years, for like 3 years, because I didn't want her to judge me or to think I was crazy, or maybe she wouldn't love me anymore, which was all in my head anyway. So I'm still hanging out with John, and now we decided to go to church one Sunday. And of course, in church, I'm not really paying attention to the sermon, and I'm blurring my eyes to see what I can see. And so I'm seeing like little angel-like things floating around and beings and stuff like that. And in that moment, about 3.5 feet tall, we're standing right here next to me. It is, yes, true. Lori's like, validation is so helpful. It is. Yep. 3.5 feet tall. I see a pink alien with big eyes. And I grab my friend John's knee, and I'm like, oh my God, there's a pink alien here. And he's like, oh yeah, that's Grandma. And I'm like, Grandma, are you an alien? What? Why is she called Grandma? Like, I'm just like, what? So again, I see something I'd never seen before. Like I hadn't seen any aliens up to this point, but I also in pictures had never seen a pink alien before. So I was just like, pink? Like, but he, again, the validation or the confirmation that I got from him was he knew exactly who that was. And then he confirmed it. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like literally crazy. That's crazy. So I found myself being like, I'm now aware of all these things. And I really wasn't okay with seeing a pink alien for some reason. Like it just sent me into a beyond. So I got freaked out and I shut it down. And I was like, and I started resisting my gifts and capacities. And then within like 6 months is when my spiritual eyes opened. And that's when I started being clairvoyant and seeing the spirit realm that way, because I had stopped playing with it with my physical eyes. Right. But then I'm like, then I had to deal with all of that sort of thinking I was crazy. And luckily had some great people along the way, clients of mine. My fiance at the time always knew who I was talking about when I would describe some ghosts that I had never seen before. But I still was like, yeah, no, I don't really want this gift. You're going to take it back. They never did take it back. But after fighting it for 3 years, then I go on a vision quest to Sedona. And that's when it really changed for me. Like there was still kind of this apprehensive fear, like, I don't know, is there darkness out there? Not really wanting. I figured if I could start seeing pink aliens, then who knows what kind of stuff I could start seeing. And so I got a little freaked out. So fast forward a few years, and then I'm hanging out with some new people that I had met that were doing this crystal healing session. And they were doing this crystal healing session, and I was like watching, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Look at all the lights. Look at all the pretty stuff. Sorry, I need to back up just a little bit. Actually, I wasn't seeing that yet until my team comes in, and they could get a hold of me auditory if I didn't have my sight on. And they were like, turn your sight on. And I'm like, no. They're like, trust us, turn the sight on. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And so I opened it up just for the healing session, right? So then I saw all the sparkly lights and all this color and this cool stuff happening. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. That's really pretty. And they're like, okay, now open your sight to include the whole room. And I'm like, absolutely not. You're crazy. I'm not doing it. They're like, trust us. I'm like, oh my God. So I opened my site to include the whole room, and there's a dark energy in the back corner. Now, some of you have heard this before, I apologize, but I recently had an awareness of like how this particular moment was pivotal for me. And it was, I saw the darkness and I was like, see, I didn't need to see that. So I was really in a space, the fear that I was creating or the anxiety that I was creating was based on fear, like unfounded fear even, right? But like if I could see aliens and spaceships and now there was all this stuff happening and I was already different enough growing up, I didn't want to be weird, right? And I'm like, okay, now I see darkness and I'm like, I don't need to see darkness. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I'm a glasses half full gal. I always have been. I've always just seen everything working out in my favor. Now, I've had some really crappy things in my life, but I know for me that they all worked out for me. I just know that. So, but it took, that's just kind of who I innately am. But that also sometimes is the rose-colored glasses, right? That's also being like, oh, for a long time, I couldn't see when somebody maybe was not a very nice person, or maybe I shouldn't really date that guy. Another story for another time, but we've all had those moments where we're like, yeah, probably if I had used my awareness or had trusted myself, I would have known maybe I shouldn't have gotten in a relationship with that person. So now there's this dark energy, and I'm like, I didn't need to see that because I like to see the world as puppies, rainbows, and unicorns. That's just the way I like to see the world. So for me, having darkness was like, I don't need to see that. I don't need to know that that's there. And then they actually had the cojones to tell me to invite that dark energy towards me. And I'm like, are you kidding me? No way. Not happening. I'm like, no, I'm not inviting dark energy towards me. They took a little coaxing and them reassuring me that I was going to be okay. That's all my spiritual team, by the way. And finally, I'm like, okay, fine. And I invited the darkness to come towards me. And when it hit my bubble, I would say my aura, my energy field, whatever. At that time, I probably did have some sort of protection up because I was freaked out all the time. I was like, what is this going to mean, right? But when it hit my energy field, it turned into bubbles of light and floated up into the sky and said, thank you, as it left. And I learned in that instant that I was not in danger of the spirit realm. And I never feared it again. So then I embraced it and let myself lean into being a little crazy or weird or different or whatever, right? Crazy is just a term. It's the meaning we give it, right? But I knew that all of the things that I had been afraid of were unfounded. Like there was no reason to be afraid. And then everything that then came from that moving forward, Lori, was excitement, right? I started to really tap into how exciting it was to now be aware of the spirit realm, be aware of aliens, be aware that I couldn't be harmed by my gifts or by any energies that I was aware of. That was a huge shift for me. And then it just became fun. And it was like, oh, cool. What can I discover now? Or what can I explore now? Or what else is possible now? And it took away that fear of the spirit realm, but it also kind of took away the thinking I was crazy, because there were so many of those things that confirmed that, yes, I had seen that. Like the lady that they were working on in that healing session, at the end of the healing session, she said to them, not to me, because I was just a voyeur. I was just watching. They weren't right? She knew I was there, and she got up from that session and she says, I don't know what you guys did different this time, but that was different. And I feel completely different. And I knew in the back of my mind that that was the confirmation that I had just gotten rid of some energy for her. I didn't need to tell them. It wasn't about me getting credit for it, but just I can now acknowledge, like, wow, I actually changed something for that lady. How cool is that? So it's those sorts of things. And I would just say, if you're somebody who kind of doubts your gifts or thinks that maybe you might be crazy or something like that, to the people that can receive it, to take the time to let yourself share it, right? So I started doing sessions. And then when I started doing sessions, I had, like, once I had a woman come in and she's like, yeah, doing a reading for her. And I'm like, there's an old lady here, maybe your grandmother. And I was like, she had white hair, it was so perfect. It looked like a wig. I'm like, did your grandmother wear a wig? And the lady actually busted out laughing and said, oh no, but that's my grandma, because she never had a hair out of place. I mean, I remember in the old days when they used so much hairspray that it looked like a wig. So, and I've had so many of those. And I would just say that those confirmations, or the confirmations that you get when you have that knowing, like I did with that healing session with that lady, is like, wow, my energy, who I am, changes things for people. But it's just years of just acknowledging it. And, I talk about this a lot in the stuff that I do, because it's a difference between, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? Or I think maybe you've even seen the meme that's like, there's a dragon in the glass. It's like how you view the world is how you see the world. So if you think that the beings can harm you, then there's going to be constantly things that your point of view creates your reality. So there's constantly things harming you because you have that belief that things are constantly after you. But if you can start looking at things like being grateful for them, even the things you can't understand why they're happening, just be like, wow, that wasn't fun, but I'm grateful that I went through that. And one of the things that I always use as an example here is, like, I know most of you have dated somebody that you're like, phew, glad that I'm not still with that person, right? But at the time, breaking up might have sucked or been really bad and hard and awful, right? It spans from anything. Like, I lost my dad when I was 18, and I grieved him for 10 years. Like, I really focused on the loss. But now when I think of my dad, I am so grateful for the 18 years I had with him, and how much fun we had, and how much he taught me. And things that he taught me about nature and all that stuff. He loved being outside. And then things that he showed me that he didn't really like people that much. And I was like, I just chose to like people. So he taught me, we're always learning. So we can always look at something as a gain if we see it as a learning experience. But if we focus on it didn't work, then we'll always see it as a loss, right? So another way of saying that is judgment versus gratitude. Are you judging something that's happening, or can you be grateful for something that's happening? And like the darkness in the corner. Hi, Bob, welcome. Having that happen, it was really uncomfortable and not that much fun in the moment. But then afterwards, I was like, wow, I have a completely different take on the spirit realm now. And I chose to not fear it. And I've always been, since then, I've just really wanted, it's kind of one of my targets in the world, is to have people not be afraid of aliens or spirits, right? Like, are there bad aliens out there? Sure. Are there bad spirits out there? Sure. Do you have to be at the effect of them? Absolutely not. There is no one and nothing more powerful than you. And if you can see that and just be like, okay, I am grateful, or, there's a gain here. Like, I gained that knowledge that I didn't have to be afraid of spirits. You can choose that too. So, a little bit of a tangent there, but it really stems from us knowing, yeah, exactly. Lord, just like bad people. Exactly. There are bad people out there. Don't hang out with them. Like, of course there are bad people out there. I'm not saying don't shut down your awareness. Stay aware. Know if, you should be in an alley or not. Awareness is the key to anything, to like knowing where you should be and where you shouldn't be, and who you should hang out with and who you shouldn't hang out with. Like, instinctively in your core. So I hope that was a contribution. Thank you very much for those of you being here and listening. And I'm excited to have our guests. We're just going to take a short break right now, and then we'll come back and maybe talk a little bit more, or we will have a meditation. If you have any questions about this, or you would like to talk about places where you think that you're crazy, or anything really, you can call in 202-570-7057. We'll put that in the chat, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Om Times TV. Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, welcome forward, everyone. Oh, thank you, Lori. That's very sweet. I think you're awesome, too. And isn't that cool? Like, I learned something recent, I don't know, a few months back. It was just a different way of saying it, but like somebody was talking about, like, how we often look at people, we look to other people, and I think this goes right in line with the you're not crazy, but we look to other people not only for validation, but we're like looking to other people to like tell us that they're proud of us. And this guy said, what if you started telling yourself that you were proud of yourself? And then and my husband and I have started doing this for each other over the last few months, like we might think that we're proud of each other, but then we're like, yeah, you should be proud of yourself, is what we say to each other. And we'll go, I am proud of myself. That's true. Because if you acknowledge, and this goes right, like I said, in line with the crazy thing, if you acknowledge that you're proud of yourself, then you don't need somebody else to tell you that they're proud of you. If you acknowledge that you're not crazy, you don't need somebody else to tell you you're not crazy. You don't need validation. You don't need confirmation. I know we like it, absolutely. And if you're new on your path, I totally get it, right? But what if you never needed validation or somebody else to tell you anything like that? And you were always the one that had your own back. Always the one that was like, okay, I'm going to tell myself I'm not crazy. I'm actually going to trust what I'm perceiving, knowing, being, receiving, feeling, seeing. I might have said that already, but I do this a lot. I teach psychic development classes and stuff like that. And I do tell my students often, like, however you're receiving your gifts, however they're showing up for you, is perfect for you. Like, don't compare yourself. When you're comparing yourself, you're in judgment of yourself. When you're in gratitude for what you have, you're not in comparison, right? So that comparison, a great book, if you haven't read it already, is called The Gap and the Gain. Highly recommend that book. It's a different way of saying being grateful for or being in judgment. But sometimes people can't hear that. They're like, oh, just be grateful for it, but then they're still judging it underneath. What if you looked at everything in your life as a gain? Like, oh, I learned something from that. Or I'm proud of myself for that. Or I'm not crazy, right? Or I love that my animals like to cuddle with me. Or like, it's those moments that we can be in that acknowledgement or that gratitude or the gain where we're like, oh, there's something really cool happening here. So I know a lot of you, I've met some of you, we've talked, have lost loved ones. And there's quite a few of you in the Facebook group, Bridging Realms, that we have. If you're not in that Facebook group, you're welcome to join it. It's free, and we'll put a link in the comments for Bridging Realms Facebook group. Come join us. But if you're in, I think I lost my train of thought for a second. If you're in the gap, meaning you're focusing on what you've lost, or like the anxiety or thinking that you're afraid, all those things, then you're judging, right? If you're comparing yourself to others or comparing your gifts to others, oh, my gifts aren't like theirs. Like, I can't see, but I can feel. I'm like, how you have your gift show up is perfect for you. I know just by having the one woman outside my ears crying, that hearing voices and talking to spirits in the early days was not going to happen. I was like, nope, I'm not going to be the crazy lady talking to people that aren't even there, that are in spirit form, but everybody thinks you're talking to yourself, and, you're on you should be on medications or locked up, or I'm like, not going to happen. Like, also, when I became a clairvoyant medium, I was like having ghosts come up to me in the grocery store, hey, would you talk to that one? That's my granddaughter. I'm like, no, I'm not going up to strangers and telling them that your grandmother's here. Also not going to happen. So, but, there was that fear. Now, I don't have those spirits approach me anymore, because I get to say how it works for me. You get to say how it works for you. So if you have some sort of spiritual gift and capacity that you don't want, you can tell them no and turn it off. It's literally like a light switch. Turn it off, turn it back on, and you can do that. But just being willing to be like, okay, I'm just going to be grateful for this. Maybe you got hurt recently, right? And physically hurt, and that sucks. But then how can you go, okay, what did I learn from that? Or what did I gain? Maybe I could have gone to the hospital, but I didn't have to go to the hospital, right? Like, was there something that you gained from that? Something that you learned, right? I know the first time, as an example, that I was building something with a hammer and nails, and the first time I actually hammered my thumb. Any of you do that? You accidentally slip off the nail and you hit your thumb instead. What did I learn in that moment? Not to do that. So what, like how do we learn from the things that happen? And everything that happens, we can learn from it. Not putting ourselves in those sorts of situations, right? Like if we see it as a learned experience, then that's how we get the gain and out of judgment, gratitude, acknowledgement. But if we see it as a loss or something is wrong or bad, or we did something wrong or bad, then it's a gap, right? It's a judgment. Like I said, right after I lost argument with the garbage can, it's that I'm glad it wasn't my teeth. Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Kimberly, for sharing that. So, but life happens, accidents happen, things happen. We get car wrecks. There's all sorts of things that happen in life, right? But can it be like, so I had a Jeep at one point in my life, Jeep Cherokee, and supposedly the 4-wheel drive had been fixed. But then I rolled my Jeep on snow and ice because the 4-wheel drive had not been fixed. So what did I learn? Well, I learned that when you get your car fixed, you double check to make sure that it's actually fixed. Right? And I wasn't harmed. I was a little bruised, but I wasn't harmed. And because I rolled in the snow, my Jeep was actually in pretty good shape. I just had a tree come in the back door, but that was it. But yeah, I mean, it's like we can look at it and be like, okay, yeah, I'm super grateful that it wasn't my teeth. I didn't have to go get my teeth fixed because of this accident, right? Sometimes it's slight and it's small, but if you're willing to look for the gain, look for what you learned, look for what's positive, look for something to be grateful for, then, like I said, your point of view creates your reality. So you will start to see more of that. So if right now you're looking at your spiritual gifts or you're thinking that you're crazy, then maybe it's time for you to start looking for, where am I not crazy? Or even ask the question, what if I'm actually not crazy? And this is a gift. This is a capacity. I think I mentioned it before, but like how many people have lost somebody that they deeply care about and then spontaneously become clairvoyant mediums or become, aware of spirits. Well, is that spontaneous gift actually showing you that death isn't the end? Becoming a clairvoyant medium when I did 10 years after my dad passed away, 12 years. But anyway, I finally realized death of the body was not the end. That was a huge gift for me because I didn't know that for sure. I've been raised in religion and told, what their points of view were about death, but I didn't have my own knowing of death, right? And so, yeah, do I miss the people who have died? For sure. But is it really the end for me? No. My grandmother passed away. I cried, but she was there the whole time, sitting right there, running her energetic fingers through my hair, right? Might somebody out there think I was crazy that my dead grandmother was visiting me? Maybe, but I felt her fingers running through my hair. I knew she was there. And so then I was able to grieve her and let her go. I didn't have 10 years of grief like I did with my dad because I didn't see my dad as a ghost, right? So yeah, I don't know. Asking those questions like, how do you know you're not crazy? I think part of that is just making the choice to choose to know that you're not crazy. You might be different. You might be weird, but the original description of weird is of spirit, fate, or destiny. So maybe you're weird, but is that more of spirit, fate, or destiny? Instead of the weird, like you're bad and wrong and mean and awful, evil, whatever it is that you tell yourself about yourself. Again, there's a filter. There's like, you can see everything through the gap, through judgment, and then you're just going to get more things to judge and see more things that are bad and wrong. Or you can take that filter off, put on a new one, that everything is a game. Everything is working out for you, even if you can't see how. And that's the tricky part, I'd say, for myself years ago, was like, I may not know how things are working out in my favor right now, but I'm going to trust that things are working out in my favor. They're working out for me. But again, it's just a choice. I choose to be grateful for life. You may choose to judge life. And you're not wrong for whichever way you're choosing. But I'm going to tell you, it really is that easy when you are looking for it. So start asking, what if I wasn't crazy? What gifting capacity is this? How can I use this gifting capacity to my advantage? How can I use this awareness to my advantage? How is this working out for me? Yeah, so I hope that was contribution. And yeah, what if you aren't crazy? It's just the filter. Am I crazy? Not crazy. Crazy? Not crazy. You choose. Which one do you want to put on? Awesome. Well, since we have a few minutes left, not a lot of time, but we do have a few minutes left. And I don't think we have anybody in the waiting room. So let's just do a little meditation visualization to complete our day together today. And I'm so grateful for those of you who've been here. Thank you for all your comments and being present. It's such a gift to me, and I'm so grateful. Breathe in, exhale out. And just find a comfortable seat. If you're in a safe place, just close your eyes. Breathe in, exhale out. Exhale out. And relax. Lowering the walls and barriers. So one of the things I've found is walls and barriers do tend to create that gap, that judgment, that comparison. Comparison is a big piece of being in the gap, because you're judging yourself based on others and what they're doing and not doing. This is your life. You get to live it, enjoy it, have fun with it, or struggle with it, whatever you choose. Breathe in, exhale out. Breathe in, exhale out. And relax. Lower the walls and barriers even more and more and more. And expand your awareness out. Breathe in, exhale out. Breathe in, Exhale out. Many times we are afraid of being crazy, and so then we try to wall ourselves out and separate ourselves, protect ourselves. I still firmly believe that the greatest protection you can ever have is your own awareness. Breathe in, exhale out. Breathe in, exhale out. And relax. And let go. As you lower the walls and barriers even more, you become more and more aware. And just observing, never judging. What are you aware of? Maybe there's a feeling. Maybe you have chills from the tip of your head to the tip of your toes. What are you aware of? Who are you aware of? Maybe you see something. Maybe you feel something. Maybe you know something. Breathe in. Exhale out. Breathe in. Exhale out. Just allowing yourself to explore your awareness with the curiosity and wonderment of a child. What's over here? Who's over here? What's over there? And I'm going to invite you to just become aware of your own spirit guide. Maybe it's an animal spirit guide. Maybe it's a humanoid or alien spirit guide. Maybe it's a pink alien. Maybe it's a unicorn or a dragon. Breathe in. Exhale out. Breathe in. Exhale out. Just allow yourself to become aware of this being. As this being radiates so much love and gratitude for you, there is not an ounce of judgment for you. Just love, gratitude, appreciation, acknowledgement. They see the absolute greatness of you. They never see you as crazy or out there. Those judgments are not you, and they're not them. Breathe in. Exhale out. And I want you to just see yourself through their eyes, through the filter of no judgment, of only acknowledgement, appreciation, gratitude, love. Kindness. And they see who you truly are, not who you think you are, but who you truly are. And allow yourself to perceive who you truly are through their eyes, through the eyes of your spiritual team, or even the eyes through your source. If there's judgment, that's not them. They would never judge you, only love you. And just allow that love to soak in. Allow that acknowledgement of who you really are and that you're not crazy to soak in. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. Take a deep breath in and exhale out. And relax and let go. Breathe in and exhale out. Thank you very much for being here today. I am so grateful for you. Have a wonderful week. See you next time.